Going back to the beginning of the film, we see Mima's agent with bandages on his hands that he got by an exploded fan mail package that was actually intended for Mima. A deliberate error in the film with the bandages indicates that it's a reference to stigmata, the wounds of Jesus, or sacrifice. And in another scene in the film, sacrifice is also depicted by the bloodied hands of Mima, who crushes her teacup in her psychosis. It is unclear to Mima whether the blood is real. The falling drop of blood from her hand in another teacup dissolves in the tea and leaves no traces. We as viewers see that the blood is an illusion. Again, this is both a spiritual representation and a hallucination of a hemorrhage, and not of a physical one. In the background in the office, we also see the psycho-thriller movie posters of Double bind with the bloody dagger in the shape of a crucifix. A rare phenomenon among deeply religious people is that they spontaneously begin to bleed from their hands because of their deep conviction of their faith. It seems that their illusion then becomes real through the power of the psyche or thought. An illusion becoming reality is the great fear of Mima as a theme in the story. In the film, Dr. Tuco replies that it takes place through possession, metamorphosis into another identity. In the story, the possession is triggered when Mima sees bright lights. These film lights and are a recurring motif in Perfect Blue. To convince Mima to take the role of the rape scene in the nightclub for Double Bind, which is acted, her agent uses actress Jodie Foster as an example in her role from the movie The Accused. He calls her Jodie what's her name, to convince her in the meaning of, as an actress she has also played such a scene for a film. In The Accused, from 1988, actress Jodie Foster plays the victim of a gang rape in the back of a bar where no one intervened but bystanders started to join in. This story is based on a true event. In the context of this analysis of reality and film reality, it should also be mentioned that Jodie Foster herself has been a victim of a stalker for a long time. It is clear that the writer Yoshikazu Takeuchi used this fact as inspiration of his novella Perfect Blue, Complete Metamorphosis. Even though assistant Rumi doesn't think it's a good idea that Mima should play such a violent scene, Mima agrees to her agent's satisfaction. And the recordings turn out to be a success and are well received by the TV producers. Mima's popularity starts to grow, and she gets an interview and a photo shoot in a magazine. She begins to evolve from a naive girl to a young woman. During the shoot, Mima gradually becomes more confident and responds to the photographer's subtle cues to take off more and more garments, ultimately resulting in a nude photo shoot. Her environment reacts in shock to the photos in the magazine of this initially conservative young woman who shows herself unabashedly to the outside world. Deep down, Mima struggles with herself because she knows she's portraying herself too cheaply and scruffy to the public, and her conscience hurts as a result. The question you ask as a viewer is, how far should you go to expose yourself to the arts in order to get your message, ideal, or own identity out there? Jodie Foster has been able to expose a few things with The Accused about women who have been victims of rape. You could say that Foster sacrificed a bit of herself to play a difficult role in giving rape victims a voice in this way. However, I don't think Mima has so much conscientious objection to the nightclub rape scene. It's the fact that she allowed herself to be persuaded or misled into a pornographic group sex ritual disguised as a smudgy music video. In the film, Rumi, who commits the murders on Mima's agent and the stalker Mr. Mimania because the latter failed to kill Mima with the truck. We see Mima dressed as a pizza delivery boy committing the murder of the photographer who also shot the porn film, hence the red, green, blue colors, which are the color palette of a TV screen. These appear on the beamer mixed with the nude photos as a reference to this. In the next scene after that murder, Mima wakes up sweating and looks at her own hands. Then she gets a call with the bad news of the photographer's murder, but she can't remember being the perpetrator. She is shocked when she finds the bloodied clothes of the pizza boy in her closet. The press is outside her door, and we see lights moving across her face. Rumi has also developed an identity disorder about her past time as a pop idol, and she is the one who posts the messages on the website Mima's Room. On this website, she deceptively pretends to be Mima. Rumi, in turn, goes completely crazy. She has furnished her own house like Mima's old room when she was still a pop singer of Cham. She does so to take over her identity because she thinks Mima is not worthy of being a pop idol because of her tarnished reputation. Rumi has also experienced sexual abuse in her own pop idol time and tries to come to terms with this by taking over Mima's identity as a young and untouched pop idol. Her own sexual abuse is the reason she bursts into tears while shooting Mima's acted rape scene at the nightclub. And we see Rumi dressed as a pop idol making a fellatio hand gesture while imitating singing through an imaginary microphone. She says, "A pop idol must sing," which means that as a pop idol you have to do sex acts as a sacrifice and as a sex slave and also to maintain your career. When Mima just in time manages to save Rumi by pushing her away from a moving truck, Rumi ends up in the hospital as a mental patient. We see a doctor telling Mima that the patient sometimes has a relapse in her character of Rumi. And from here on, the overall story takes a 180-degree turn. The most important part of the whole movie, or the key element. Rumi is therefore a character in Perfect Blue who was played by an actress. The name of that actress is not mentioned in the entire film, but who has gone mental because of satanic ritual abuse, resulting in an identity disorder. All the time, we as viewers thought that Perfect Blue was the main story and Double Bind the sub-story. However, it is the other way around. Both storylines are intertwined. Yoko is thus a traumatized young woman working as an actress who plays the role of Mima Kirigo, who goes from pop idol to actress. In that story, equals the sub-film Perfect Blue, Mima undergoes a trauma which is excellently interpreted by Yoko as she uses the experiences in her acting performance of her own rape trauma. This is why Yoko is so successful in her acting work. But in her private life, she begins to lose her grip on reality and suffers from paranoid phenomena, just like her character Mima Kirigo also experiences paranoid phenomena in the film script. The latter because the main movie and sub-movie are copies of each other, as if in a mirror image. And now we understand everything. The reason Mima didn't die on the highway with the truck is because it was acted or a death scene on film, namely the sub-movie Perfect Blue. Because we as a viewer initially do not realize that Perfect Blue is the sub-film, you become completely disoriented. Does Yoko go into psychosis because Mima is being stalked? Or goes Mima into a psychosis because it happens to Yoko in her private life? Think about Swansei's Butterfly to grab this. The fact that we see actress Yoko in her role of Mima, so realistically acting and express horror, is because in her private life she is unable to distinguish between her own reality and film. And here we are dealing with what is called possession. Her character Mima takes possession of Yoko. And that's why the scene where Mima is overrun on film by the truck is also Yoko's spiritual death. We see Yoko looking very surprised at the applause for her at the end of the recordings for Double Bind when it's in the can. She has no idea, and she is not herself anymore. When we see Mima dressed as a pizza delivery boy murdering the photographer, he dies an acted death in the film reality of the sub-film Perfect Blue. Everything Mima goes through in the Perfect Blue sub-movie, Yoko actually experienced in her private life of Double Bind. And so also Yoko killed her sister, Rika, and others under the influence of possession. Likewise, Yoko makes a mistake by accidentally addressing her fellow actress Eri in the hallway as Dr. Tuko, Eri's character in Double Bind. Everything that Yoko experiences in private life is reflected in Mima's film script as if it were a mirror image. We see Mima fainting near the corpse while shooting a scene, equals all acted. In a later scene, we also see Yoko passing out, which is real, during the conversation in the hallway with the producers. The stalker, Mr. Mimania, who works as a bodyguard, looks like the bad guy at first, but is also Mima's protector. It's Mr. Mimania who hung the newspaper article in the elevator about the violent crime of one of the ringleaders and is also the perpetrator of the violent crime, with which he wants to tell her that she will no longer be bothered by him or afraid of him. We also see Mr. Mimania snatch all the magazines with the nude photos of Mima from the hands of the potential buyers to buy all the magazines out of protection for her. He does this after overhearing other fans in the magazine stores saying, "Can someone come and rescue Mima, please?" Mr. Mimania begins to smile when he hears this call. Later, Mr. Mimania is tricked and manipulated by Rumi as virtual Mima via email, and she wants him to attack Mima, which she calls the imposter Mima. And so we see Mr. Mimania in the truck committing an assault during a shooting of the sub-movie Perfect Blue. However, this attack fails. When Mima is violently attacked by Mr. Mimania, we see that it is her hallucination. We see the object she throws at him disappear through his body like a hologram. Mima in her madness thinks she is being raped by him. However, he was never physically present there. When Mima knocks him down with the hammer, we don't see any blood on his head, and we hear after the cut the director and the entire film crew applauding her. However, she is hallucinating the applauding crew members. We see Mr. Mimania only do bad things in his bodyguard uniform. In other words, in his acting role as stalker in the sub-movie Perfect Blue. But in his daily life, he wears his usual clothes and wants to protect Mima. Rumi tells at the end of the film that she killed Mr. Mimania because he failed her a bit in the assault with the truck. She wants Mima dead because she is not worthy of her filthy behavior to be a pop idol, and she wants to take her place. And she killed her boss, Mima's agent, because of the acting jobs and smudgy music videos or sex videos he offers that Rumi also used to have to participate in. To understand this complexity as a viewer, you can use the principle of a continuous downward spiral. Everything turns 180 degrees and then turns back again, one level deeper to a new dark reality. And so we also see the synchronicity of the two storylines.